What's up, YouTube? On this episode of Coddiwomple Overland, we're going to be taking you with us on our way to SEMA.
We don't need a destination, let's go where the river's taking us.
The SEMA show in Las Vegas has always been a bucket list item for me. I didn't know that we were going to have to go through buckets of rain and then snow before we could get there. As we made it across the plains and further into Colorado, the snow began to start mounting up. We hoped it wouldn't be too bad, but we started across the passes, and that's when things got a little bit serious as far as the road conditions. We made it across the passes without any issues, and were met the next morning with clearing skies and a much different terrain. Things were definitely looking up until they weren't. Now, I've had bearings go bad in the past, but you could always hear them. With this one, I didn't hear it, and it gave me no indication until the tire was passing us along the interstate. We were so very fortunate not to have been in an accident or caused an accident from this.
So we just had, of course, the axle break on the truck. And once again, we're in Utah, and our friends from Atlas Outdoors have came to haul the truck to Dixie Off-road for us and get the camper back to Atlas.
As bad of a situation as we were in, it could have been a whole lot worse. We were just a few miles from St. George. Steve and Ricky were able to help us come and get the truck and put it on a trailer and haul it to Dixie 4-wheel drive. Dixie 4-wheel drive just happened to have exactly the parts we needed to get this thing back on the road. Of course, it wasn't just as simple as driving the truck up onto the trailer. We did have to get a little bit creative with loading it up onto the trailer. Once we were able to get it loaded up onto the trailer, we were headed to Dixie 4-wheel drive.
Just like you've done this before.
We'll turn that frown upside down.
All right.
Good.
So we're here with Bryce at Dixie 4-wheel drive in St. George. You can tell, obviously, the Gladiator's got some problems, but a 1 in a million chance. We called these guys, was looking for an axle, a whole axle housing, and it had to be a 513 gear.
And Rubicon.
And Rubicon, so it's got the E-locker, all of that. Bryce just so happens to have one on a vehicle in the showroom.
I'm stealing it out of a Gladiator in the showroom.
We're stealing it off of a Gladiator out of the showroom, and they're going to work on it tonight. They're going to work on it tomorrow when they're normally off and get us back on the road. These guys are incredible.
We're
Bryce,
trying.
man, thank you.
Let's
so
get you
much.
going first, but
All right.
I think we got you. It'll start just fine, right?
Oh yeah.
Now, I know what you're thinking. It's because it's a YouTube channel. But I promise you, that was not the case. When I called and asked these guys if they could help me and asked for the parts, they had no idea who I was or even that I had a YouTube channel. They were just there and willing to help. You can tell by the way that Bryce has taken this off of the rollback that he's definitely done this before, and they are certainly no strangers to repairing broken Jeeps. The next day, we were all fixed and in Salt Lake City, Utah, home of the Expedition Voyager. This would be the trailer that we would be pulling for the next few days on our way to SEMA and into the Mojave Desert.
Where's the chocolate? Can I ask you a question? Is it ice cream?
Huh?
So you gotta get squirty chocolate.
Where's the strawberry?
Is there ice cream?
Yeah, it's ice cream.
Okay,
Or
then
we
for me,
decide to,
if it's ice cream, then I
There's a
will.
berry pie one. Look at that.
Yeah, that one looks good.
I mean that.
There's a strawberry.
Oh,
Strawberry one.
I love
Strawberry?
I love the chocolate.
Oregon strawberry. There it is. Let's do it. So what are we doing here?
So we're admiring the grocery list, in which the receipt is as long as the cart in which we put it in. So this is just part of it, right? We got to get groceries before we hit the woods.
After loading up on groceries and getting all the other necessary supplies, it was off to the desert. We decided to hit central Nevada before we made our way further south. We were headed west across the salt flats of Utah, and the sun was setting faster than we was making it towards the Great Basin. So we decided to start looking for camp. We found a really cool place down next to the Sevier Lake. We ended up finding a campsite in a little clearing right before you got to the lake. This was very unique, and it was unlike any other campsite that we had ever stayed at before.
What time is it?
It's 4:18. We woke up to a steady rain. And it's a little slick outside. So we decided the best thing to do before we really got swamped in here was to get out of this greasy salt flat. So here we are. Well, good morning, campers. We woke up to 34 degrees and rain. It's been raining for a couple hours, and decided to look out of the cabin of the expedition trailer to check and see what it looked like outside, and we were in a lake. Funny, we did kind of camp at a Salt Lake bed, so that's our fault. That's on us. But now we're moving. It's 4:34 a.m. and we're going to go try to find somewhere dry and warm to find some breakfast. If you're ever in this area at 4:30 in the morning, just be aware there is nothing. So we had to get a little creative. We made it to the Great Basin National Park and decided to set up in the parking lot and make our own breakfast while we watched the sunrise over the mountains. We had some really good hot coffee and a nice breakfast, even though it was the middle of a parking lot. We didn't find a warm place, but that definitely warmed our belly up. After that, we decided to explore what part of the park we could. There were several of the roads that were closed, but the ones that we did find was really cool. This is definitely a place that we would like to come back and take a look at and go all the way to the top of the mountain.
after he had settled down in the area. He used to bring his family back east stalactites as a gift whenever he would make the long journey to visit.
After leaving the least visited national park in the nation, it was time to go find some ghost towns. The town of Pioche in Lincoln County, Nevada, came alive in the mid-1860s after silver was found. This was a very lawless town, and it made places like Bodie and Tombstone pale in comparison. All the history that I could find on this little town said that 75 men died with their boots on from gunfights or murders or something like that before the first person died in this town from natural causes. And that is why the cemetery that we went and visited was named Boot Hill. I always thought the town of Tombstone was the roughest of the rough when it came to the Wild West, but apparently this town right here had it beat by far. Normally with Tombstone you would have a couple murders a year according to the history books. With this one they had well over 70 in just a few years. There was no law in this town, so they hired gunslingers to protect their claims. This is still an active cemetery, and what we found out by talking to some locals, we wondered what all the red flags were. 2 weeks ago, a university came in and did some research, and they found over 200 unmarked graves. Many of these were below more recent graves. After making our way safely out of this historically bloody town, it was time to make our way further south. We were not in search of silver and gold, but we were in search of heat. It was time to find a warmer climate. Just before sunset, we found our way into southern Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas. We'd found some trails with camping opportunities really close to the Valley of Fire State Park, and with all the red rock, we couldn't resist stopping here and camping for the night. After camp was all set up, it was time for dinner. On the menu tonight was pizza quesadillas.
Now this one I could have flipped it like that. Yeah. Eat ice cream in bed.
After dinner, we got everything all cleaned up. We had a little visitor. He was looking for a little extra late night snack. Too bad, we had already eaten everything that we had had. In all honesty, we would have never fed this little guy, but it was very apparent that many other people had, because he was not scared at all. We had definitely found warmer weather and incredibly blue skies. Today, we continued our search for ghost towns, and this time we were going to look for one who had actually been sunk underwater for several years. When Lake Mead started to recede, it started to show itself again. We were on our way to the ghost town of St. Thomas. The town of St. Thomas was founded by members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and led by Thomas Smith in 1865. With a population of about 500 people at its peak, it became one of the established towns and farms of businesses, and at one point was the county seat. In 1871, land surveyors came in and shifted the state line of Nevada 1 degree in longitude to the east, and that placed this settlement along with several others into the Nevada instead of Arizona or Utah. The state of Nevada then attempted to collect taxes for previous years, only payable in gold. The residents decided that they were not going to do this, and they abandoned the town in 1871. After the first LDS members left in 1871, other people came in and claimed the abandoned properties. This lasted for a few years until more LDS settlers came to St. Thomas and reclaimed their properties in the 1880s. This town flourished for almost 50 years until the construction of the Hoover Dam, which resulted in the waters rising from the Colorado River and forced the abandonment of this town. The last resident, Hugh Lord, left on June 11th of 1938. As you walk the nearly 2-mile round-trip loop trail, you can see the foundations and partial structures of several homes, a garage, the store, a blacksmith shop, a schoolhouse, post office, Gentry store, and the Gentry Hotel. These are all really fascinating things to be able to see after they were buried underwater for several years, from 1938 until the year 2000, when Lake Mead started to recede and you could start to see these things again. Now you can come and re-explore them for yourself. This is truly a town that was submerged underwater for over 50 years. Our next stop was the Rogers Hot Spring. It was actually just barely a warm spring. It didn't feel quite as warm as bathwater. So it being in the 60s today, we decided to enjoy it from the bank and just look at it and watch the goldfish swim around. Another reason we didn't get into the hot spring is apparently, according to the signs, there is a bacterial amoeba that lives in this water. And if it gets in your nose, it can get into your brain and become pretty dangerous to you.
I'd be scared to step in it because I don't know what's underneath of it.
Half a dozen places in the world that will be that way.
Then tomorrow.
I'm going to check my book because there's
30
another
minutes from Lauren.
another spring.
From there, we decided to make it to the banks of Lake Mead and find us a nice, relaxing camp for the evening, right on the lake shore. We were fortunate enough with the Gladiators and the trailers to be able to make it a little bit farther than the Class A motorhomes and the vans could make it, and found a perfect spot right here on the point.
Come on. Come on, Buster. You gotta get back up there.
Apparel is behind the Glen Canyon.
Yes, and that's when we went to Glen Canyon Recreational Area. We stayed there. Yeah. Is that a little island out there, or do you think that's attached to the water around?
Some guacamole?
Guacamole.
I will make some guacamole. See who cut the onions and tomatoes up.
We enjoyed a beautiful night and a Mexican meal along Lake Mead. What was especially entertaining is watching Justin make a new hat.
Justin needs guacamole is perfect.
There ain't no blood or anything in it?
Nope, no blood.
Not this time.
Justin,
Yeah,
what's on your head?
that's the rest of my tortilla. See, I wanted to make a double-decker taco, but my tortilla was too big, so I took the scissors and cut my tortilla down.
I hate my tortillas.
I know. Well, it overhung
And now
my
you're using
hard
it as a
shell.
sun visor.
Yeah, so it overhung my hard shell, so I just took the scissors and cut it down. That's like my little sombrero.
What do you mean there's any more pay in it?
And being the director is supposed to.
Guys, get out of it. Leave it.
After tearing ourselves away from that incredible sunrise, we were back on the road again and made a stop at our good friends in Las Vegas at XGRID Campers. This is where we would drop off the campers for a couple days while we attended SEMA. If you're ever in the Vegas area, stop and check them out. And at this point, we had made it to SEMA. Our first place to check out was obviously the Overland experience. We hope you've enjoyed our adventure as much as we did. And until next time, see ya.